All right, so our graph here, I guess we should start off with what we always do, which is what exactly did we do last time? So we have a car walking around. When we get within a zone, the characters can essentially simulate walking up to the cab and then they get inside of it, something like this. Um, what we want to do next is take a look at how we can clean up our code. Now, there's many tenements to object-oriented programming, right? Like when you look at a high-level curly language, there's sequencing, which means you could read something kind of in the code itself from top to bottom, where it has some sort of sequence, even if it jumps around, that you could follow. There's branching, which is this, right? Like this have if statements or true false. And there's looping, right? Like you could do something over and over and over again, which is essentially like, you're testing something. If it's true, it'll do it. It'll do it over and over again until it's satisfied, right? There's also something else in object-oriented programming called encapsulation. And what it means is you're taking a chunk of code and you encapsulate it within a function or method, and you call that one function and it's just reused over and over again, right? So that's what I want to kind of talk about in this video is, well, what do you, how do you know what to encapsulate? And then what are the, you know, yeah, essentially, and how do you do it inside of Unreal? And you could see here that we're looking for areas where we're like, okay, I know I want to reuse that block over and over again, right? Now, if you're completely new to Unreal, which is kind of what this course is designed for, you didn't realize this, but you've been using functions the whole time. And that's what these little F's are, right? This get actor location has a lot of code behind it, right? It's a function that we use over and over and over again. We know that we're going to always get the actor's location. For example, we use it twice here. Same thing with destroyed locator or set actor location. And they have these little F's that designate that they are a function. So how do I know when to essentially create a function? Well, if we go through our section here, we don't really need a function here, right? Because we're just getting a player and we're just checking if it's equal to this. And I mean, we could do that if we're always going to be checking if the player is equal to this branch and stuff. But I generally do a function when it's something that's essentially moving an actor, doing something within an actor, checking something, or removing health. Like I might create a health function, and every time the player gets hurt, the health goes down because it's a looping action. So for example here, let's analyze this. We're getting the actor's location, we're setting the actor's location, and then we have a timeline here. And this timeline is what when it's updating, that means it's setting its actual location. This is constantly looping, right? It's always updating or checking or setting what the actor's location is based on all of this movement code here, right? This is our NPC position. We're lerping between. So this is a good place to create a function because this is what's actually doing the logic behind moving our player. Sorry, not our player, but our NPC. We could leave this destroy actor, it's its own function because all it has is this one function, which is it's removing the actor, and we already have that as its function within itself. So let's grab all of this logic here, including these. Sorry, let's select all of this. And you can right click and now you want to right click on the node itself and select collapse the function. And now it took all of that information and collapsed it within this new function. If I double click this, you could see we now have all of that logic inside of this function and we can access it. So I'm going to double click this line for a second, just kind of be a little bit cleaner for you to see. Move that up, move this up as well. So you can see now that logic. And then I can always go back here. Now, because I have this, I can actually use this over and over again for other things that I need to move towards the player. It could be health bars, or say like we want to have like a timer and we hit it and then it increases the time in which we can pick up our players in the game. So how do I change the name, right? Well, if you look off on the side here, there's a new function. If I double click that or do a hard press, I can name this move, um, maybe blueprint to player. And then we have this anytime we need it again. I'm going to compile and save that. And let's go back to our event graph here. Now you can see that it is renamed. All right, so we have that one. And I want you to, and again, if it's too difficult, I don't want to stress you out. It might struggle with you. But do you see any place else where we could use it to create another function, right? So just take a second, sort of peruse this. See, all right, so there's a couple places. You're probably thinking, well, here's a place that we could use over and over again because we always want to store the starting value of our NPCs, right? Or our objects. And then we want to feed that into this timeline, right? And then we want to destroy it or we want to move the player. So we could highlight these two, right click, and then collapse that to a function. And we could just name this. And look how much cleaner our code is starting to look, right? So inside this new function here, you can see it's stored, right? All we're doing is we're setting the NPC. It gives us the outs and ins. And what I can do is I can select this now. Let me close these in this timeline as well. And I could name this store starting position, right? Or it could be value, right? Starting. We could always rename this, but let's compile and save this. And yeah, we're storing the starting position really, which is a value, but I think that makes better sense to name it store starting position actually than value. Okay, let's compile and save that as well. And we can go back to our event graph and you can see it's starting to look a lot nicer. And the more you do these visual scripting, I promise you, you'll get a little bit better at knowing what functions to create and which ones you won't. And which ones to not create as functions. That's what I meant to say. All right, let's go ahead and test this to make sure we didn't break it. Now here we are. And yep, we're able to pick up our passengers and we let them chase us down. There we go. So it's getting pretty cool. And I just want to specify something for those of you who are interested in like, wow, how do I make this push this game even further? There is a blueprint that is just for making a car move, like this cab, the wheels and stuff. And if you've forgive me, I think I'm getting under the weather. But if you go back and you've done other tutorials where you've done some of the artwork or whatever, you could dissect this cab and let's see, blueprint this cab, and you can section off the wheels. I'm totally cool with you guys editing, manipulating this cab and repainting it how you like for your portfolio. Anyway, I think this video is getting pretty long, and then yeah, I think that's good for now.